Welcome to the Introbiz Global Summit, Toni. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Really excited to be here.
Ah, fabulous. Well, it's great to have you here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my wonderful friend, Toni Clarkstone, who's an amazing sales trainer and coach. She's had so much experience over the years. She's the founder of the Sales Circle, and she is also an author, speaker, and trainer that writes and lectures on relationship sales, customer loyalty, and personal development. She is so passionate about helping and developing people with spheres of influence and achieving their true potential by selling value first and looking after her clients. Toni works with growth-orientated business owners, sales professionals, and corporate companies, seeking tailored executive coaching and mentoring and tailored training programs for their employees. She is highly respected in the field of sales, and it is her mission to educate and motivate sales teams and entrepreneurs for their growth and success. So it's an absolute honor having you here, Toni. Just tell us a little bit about, I know, you started your journey fairly recent in your own business, but you've got a vast amount of experience in sales. So where did your sales journey first start?
Wow, when I was 17 years old, Tracy, I went to work for HFC Bank. And for those of you that remember HFC Bank, they were a very sales-driven organisation. So there was a hell of a lot of cold calling back in those days. So I was a 17-year-old kid, just out of college, did a business and management qualification, and due to my issues with learning, dyslexia, I found talking to people was my skill. That's what I was able to do, connect with people. So when they put me in that role, it was like, wow, I found my calling, and it all just developed from there, really.
Yeah, and I know sales can have a massive impact on people's businesses, but I know you've developed a unique a job learner program, haven't you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yes, so it's basically an on-the-job learning program. One of the things that I identified over the years, one of the reasons why I set up the Sales Circle was because I identified that there was a problem in the industry, and what was happening all through the over 20 odd years of working in sales. You would go to a company and they would provide you with some training, and that would normally be like a classroom environment, and then you would be thrown out into the world to do your job. And lots of salespeople fail, and it's not because of the fact that they're not any good. It's simply because they've just not had that support. So I developed a program. So the Sales Circle has a program that's called On the Job Training. Amazing. And how that works is that we provide all the elements of the normal training process that all the other providers out there give. So we give the sales training, but what's unique about the Sales Circle is we don't just stop there. So what happens is we provide on-the-job training with each individual. So for example, I'm working with a client at the moment, and they've got 3 members of staff within their sales department. And what I do is I work with the individual by listening into their calls, helping them through attending their Zoom calls, and actually providing them with coaching and feedback on their performance. So they're taking what they've learned within the classroom environment and online learning, and actually then ensuring that they're implementing it into the role to really maximize the level of skill that they have. And in turn, as we've seen with the company that I'm working with at the moment, in terms of the results that the companies see, we've had, I'll just tell you an example. One gentleman was doing around 20 grand per month, and now he averages around 120 grand per month.
What?
And this is all around actually nurturing people, nurturing them to do a great job and providing them with that extra support. Now, you do tend to find that companies, they'll have a sales manager, And the sales manager themselves have not had the training to even coach these individuals. So what the sales circle offers, the sales circle offers is an opportunity to not only help develop the individuals, but to help the managers to become better coaches. So they will take part in this exercise so that they become better coaches, and they are able to, once we move away, they are able to carry on that success.
That's incredible, you know, and what huge, that's a no-brainer for companies. So you're telling me the sales guy was doing 20 grand a month, and now he's doing 120 grand a month. Oh my God, everyone needs to speak to Toni Clarkstone, as far as I'm concerned, in the sales.
You know, that's a unique situation. You know, I've had other people that have gone from, you know, that have only, you know, done an additional 50 grand, but it's still an incredible amount of money. But it's not about the money for me. It's not about what they actually get in terms of the results. It's about watching them grow as individuals, watching their confidence just explode. You know, these individuals are now at a new level of ability, and they can feel it in their bones. And it's beautiful to watch. It's really beautiful to watch. One of the other elements of the program is to work with people that don't learn very well within the classroom environment. We all know that there are lots of different types of learning styles. So we have so we have the verbal, we have the visual, we have the kinesthetic. You know, there's lots of different types of learning. So I've developed a program based on my own experience, really, as somebody that is dyslexic and struggles with certain elements. I developed a program that can help people that do have, you know, a certain level of learning difficulty, but they've got that passion and drive to succeed.
Well, I can imagine there's a lot of guys, you know, it's not being against guys now, but there's a lot of guys that are dyslexic, isn't there? More so than women.
More so than women, exactly. And you know, in having somebody that actually understands where they're at, gives them that confidence that, you know, that they can actually work with me. So at the moment, I'm working with a young lady that suffers with learning difficulties, but she is absolutely incredible. But it's just a case of building that confidence and making her see that she's incredible. So I just absolutely love working with the sales professionals and you know, the owners of these companies, because when you see the results, it's quite flabbergasting.
Yeah, it must be awesome to see that, you know, and you know, you must get such huge, you know, job satisfaction from that when you see them go from a lower end to a higher end, but also their confidence grows. I mean, that's just, you know, you're making a huge difference to somebody's life, not only just that person or teams of people, but also the company, because they're going to grow from there as well, aren't they? So, Toni, how important do you think it is to have a sales coach?
Right. No matter what industry you're in, having a sales coach is a game changer. And although sales training can certainly help, I personally believe that sales coaching is the most important way to help salespeople make the needed changes. Okay. And within the mind, the most important job of a sales manager is to coach their salesperson to close business.
And motivate them.
And motivate them. Absolutely. So sales leaders need to develop their sales teams. Now, hiring a sales coach can be a complete game changer. And you don't have to have a sales manager or have a big company to see massive results. And we've proven that. Yeah. So a sales coach, if you think about it, it takes the team to victory, one sale at a time. A sales coach sets the strategy, and then it helps you to understand how to implement it. A sales coach will demonstrate the needed techniques, and they'll provide you with the training and the development to get those techniques in hand. And a sales coach helps you to analyze the results so that you can continue doing the right thing over and over again and learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And completely learn from your mistakes. And a sales coach can constantly provide that experience and the feedback that you need to stay motivated.
Yeah,
And
that's so important.
Yeah, to stay motivated. And to be honest, having a coach is what creates winners, in my view.
Yeah.
Having somebody there with you all the way, developing you, you know, and they become a friend to you. Coaches, you know, they work with winners, people that are really going to succeed.
100%.
And it's really important that you invest in yourself. One of the biggest achievements I think I have made over the years was investing in myself to attend the Grant Cardone University and to be mentored by him. It cost a hell of a lot of money, but it was one of the best investments I ever made. And to be quite honest, I wouldn't be here today talking to you if I hadn't have taken that step and invested in myself to become the person I am. And when I'm working with my clients, I always have that in the back of my mind, that this individual is a true inspiration because they are investing in themselves and they can see the value in it. And I think that's, you know, incredibly important.
Yeah, well, you've answered my next question, which was going to be, you know, mentoring and coaching. And I think, you know, you couldn't get anyone better than Grant Cardone as your sales coach. And, you know, I'm a massive advocate of sales coaches or coaches and mentoring. You know, as a lot of people know, I've taken on Sharon Lecter as my mentor, you know, so, and I've now got a new mentor, Tamara Lowe. And
wow.
is one of our speakers on the summit. So you will be from her, but she's incredible. She's built a $40 million in the Australia business over the last 4 or 5 years. Incredible human being. She's all about purpose. She resonated with me. So it's important, you know, and I just think people underestimate mentors and coaches because I think what people have to see, and this is what I was talking about. I was talking in Clubhouse last night and I was saying a lot of people, when they're looking for something, a product or a service, and if something is, say for instance, I was selling something for 20 grand, right?
Yeah.
And someone says, oh my God, that's expensive, right? It's only expensive if you don't get a return on investment on that 20 grand. But like I've also been saying is things like, if I sold you £100 note for £20, would you buy it? And some people were putting up, I did a post on Facebook and people say, no, I wouldn't, it's a scam. You know, it's not true. And I said, no, basically what I was saying to them was, if you spent money with me and say you spent £20, I would give you a return on investment of £100. You know, if you spent £100 with me, I'd give you a return on investment of £500, you know. So it's just trying to get across to people that what they have to realize, and this word is so important, is the transformation and the return on investment, your ROI. So it's the transformation and your ROI of what you are going to achieve when you potentially buy off someone. And people have this mindset of, oh my God, it's 20 grand. Oh my God, it's £2,000. I can't afford that. I don't want that. But what they don't realize is, if I bought something for 20 grand, but I knew I was going to get back 100 grand, do you think I'd buy it? Hell yes, of course I would. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? You're 80 grand up, you know? And this is what people have got to get into their head. So, you know, once you think about, you know, if you want to increase your sales, do you want to get more business? Do you want to give your sales teams and yourselves and your managers those skills that can churn money and sales over and over again? It's an absolute no-brainer if they talk to Toni from the you know what I mean?
Oh, bless you. No, it is a no-brainer, to be honest. And I think one of the things that that comes out to me when I sit with people, it's like, well, how do you connect with your prospects? You know, how are you connecting with them? You know, and I think that, you know, a great way to start selling, one of the things that I say to people, one of the skills that you really need to develop as a salesperson is you need to start to learn how to ask really good questions and ask connection questions. And one of the biggest in my view, one of the biggest areas that people struggle with is asking really good quality questions and actually doing the needs assessment in a very, very thorough way, so that you can take out what's actually qualified and what's not qualified. So from a technical point of view, in regards to the sales process, you know, I think that businesses fall down on the actual process itself, if that makes sense, and how you should really go about looking and identifying your prospects. And what, like I say, you know, when we connect with someone, it's always on an emotional level, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always on an emotional level. We understand them better, and we understand and we talk to them in an empathetic way. And the ability to really feel someone else's pain.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what business is solving a problem or serving a need, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's that ability, you know, and people say, well, how do I connect with people? How can I? And literally is about, the key thing is learn to ask really good questions and be able to feel somebody else's pain, be able to empathize with them, to understand what exactly their need is. What is it? What can you do to make their life easier? Yeah. And if you go into a sales call with that mindset, you will have a higher rate of return on it, because you will have that person liking you and going through the whole process of know, like, and trust. Because you have actually taken the time to ask them really good quality questions, and you have really listened to what they have to say. And I love teaching connection questions. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things to teach, because it helps you to understand the client and the employee, and the extreme importance, to be quite honest, of connection questions is the enabling you to understand your prospect and then close the deal faster. So, you know, if you're able to do those things, then your likelihood is that you will close that deal a hell of a lot faster if you're able to ask the good connection questions and you can really understand the need of the client.
But it's, you know, you've got to get your pitch right, haven't you? You know, it's like, you know, it's a network. And so many times I've heard people say, I'll give you an example as an accountant. I say, well, what is it that you do? You know, because I always ask that question when I meet people at an event, and they always say, oh, I'm an accountant. I do payroll and bookkeeping. And I'm like, big deal. You know, what people are interested in business is how to make more money, how to save money, how to save time and make more business, you know, more sales. That's what it's. So an accountant should be saying, I can help you. If I had an accountant that said to me, I can help you make more money, save time and save money, do you think I'm going to be interested? Hell yes, I am. That's going to, you know, spark up my ears thinking,
I'm really excited about that, because you want to hear that, don't you? To be honest, it is all about, I know it's probably cheap, but it's about the elevator pitch, isn't it? It's about how you actually talk to people. And, you know, and when we are talking to an individual, you know, and we're introducing ourselves, say we're going to, you know, as you say, a benefit, it's to be honest, I find it, you know, as you quite rightly said, it's like, so what, you know, oh, you're an accountant. I want to be hearing about, you know, who you are. What does your company do? What is the value proposition? And something that grabs their attention. So that's effectively what I want to be hearing. I want to hear something really quite sexy that makes me go, oh, you know, you know, oh, you know, that's quite interesting. You know, we're industry leading, best in class. You know, we can save you money faster than any other competition. You know, I want to be hearing somebody that's really putting a spin on something and making it, as I like to call it, making it sexy. Because that is what attracts people to what you do. And I think figures are really important. So like when I speak to people, And I'm talking, I work with growth orientated business owners and sales professionals across the UK. And I provide valuable sales training and coaching. And my proven sales process has increased profits by 54% for the average customer.
Who's going to say no to that?
Yeah. So if I can say to you that I'm going to increase your profits by an average of 54%, wow. It needs to be catchy. It needs to be something that you're going to go, yeah, I'm interested in learning more about what you do. And I think that's where people let themselves down when they go to things like networking events and they just go, yeah, I'm an accountant, or I'm a lawyer, or whatever. And those people, those are the people that really do need the sales training. So that they can really put themselves out there and generate more business. Because if you're able to talk to people on that level, it's just common sense, isn't it? Your business is going to start to flourish.
Yeah. And, would you agree that listening is probably one of the most skillful and important things that you could do when you're trying to potentially sell to somebody?
Oh, 100%. So listening is number one skill in the sales process. It is the number one skill. And then after that, it's questioning. You should only be talking for about 20% of the time. So 80% of the time, you should be ensuring that the client's speaking. So, when you're talking to them, connection questions are really important. Asking them questions that make them do most of the talking. So 20% of the time, you are only really asking them questions about what it is that they need. So listening is the number one skill in my view. And I think that more people need to develop this skill, because we're not all good at it. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm amazing at listening. I'm not. When I'm at work, I'm extremely switched on. But my husband will tell you that I hardly listen to him. But
when it comes to the sales circle, it's different, isn't it?
I'm just focusing on work all the time. But listening is one of those really important skills.
Yeah. And like I was talking to somebody the other day, and I think I was doing a training session, and I was saying, in a networking scenario, the more questions that you ask about someone, I remember years ago, my kids used to say to me, God, Mum, you're really nosy. You ask lots of questions. But I think you have to realize you've got to be nosy, because you've got to be able to ask enough questions, because you get this better picture of what the company is all about and how you can help solve their problems, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think also people need to realise that we were born salespeople. I think that's another thing. I think people think, there's a bit of a stigma to sales, but effectively we're all salespeople. From the moment we're born, we learn to sell. And it might seem silly, but if you think about it, when you're talking to your husband, for example, and you want to take a holiday and they want to go to Spain and you want to go to France, for example, or maybe it's a restaurant and they want to go for Chinese and you want to go for Indian, you start to use your sales skills that you developed when you were younger. You start to learn, you're persuading them to do what you want them to do.
Yeah.
You want to go to France, so you persuade them that that's the best thing to do. Now, it doesn't seem like you're probably selling, but you are. Every time you communicate with somebody, you're selling something, whether or not it's conveyed in anger, sadness, frustration, joy, or even just a polite conversation. Every time you communicate with someone, you're selling them. In other words, all the communication is an attempt of persuasion.
Of course it is. Do you know who I think are brilliant salespeople?
Mm-hmm.
Kids. How often they want to do something, they want to go somewhere, do they nag you? They nag you.
Exactly.
Until you say yes.
Exactly. And what do we teach people?
As children, they always do that, don't they? So I think every child is a salesperson.
Everyone is a salesperson. We pick it up from a child. And what's the key thing that one of the key things that we say you've got to do in sales? Follow up, follow up, follow up. What do our teens do? What do our kids do? They follow up, they follow up, they follow up, because they nag the crap out of us until they get their own way. And it's all in the follow-up, isn't it? So, we talk about touch points. Now, kids do it brilliantly. We do it professionally, because we're doing things like, we're calling, we're texting, we're emailing. They're coming up, tapping us constantly. Mum, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? It's despite, I suppose, selling is a must. Yeah, it's a must. Everybody has to be able to sell in some form, right? And we all do it naturally. And I think that's really important to remember, that we all do it naturally. So we've all got it inside us. I think that the thing is that because of some sort of bad experience that potentially could have happened to a grandparent, or maybe, somebody's missold to someone, or, there's a stigma against it. And I think that was one of the reasons why I ended up going into sales, because I wanted to try and take away that stigma that was in sales. This old school way of selling, where people are, they're not looking at it from a needs assessment. They're not doing a consultative sell and finding out what they really need, and whether or not they need there's an actual need there. They're just more pushy salespeople. But we're all salespeople at the end of the day. And I think it's important to remember that, and that if you develop your confidence enough, you'll smash it in sales. That to me, no one can't be successful in sales.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, when they say, salespeople are born and others are not, to a certain degree, but there are people that are naturally good at sales, but I think in most instances, I was a chopsy bugger when I was younger. I was always talking, but I didn't know how to sell. So I got learned the art and the craft of sales, working for the local newspaper, and I think people have this fear of sales. And I think us Brits, like the Americans, they certainly know how to sell, because that's what they have always been. That's part of their culture. But I think the British culture was, we can't sell, we can't be too pushy, we're very conservative, and I think we have to go out there and you have to sell. And people have this fear of objections, don't they? And if someone says objection, they go, oh, she said no. Just tell people how. I'm loving this conversation, Toni, because I know I love sales anyway. And, what you're giving us is such huge value today. And I do want to keep going. So what would you say how to overcome objections? What's the best thing that you can do when someone throws an objection up at you? Because, at the end of the day, it's just a lack of information, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And what I teach is deflection. So when you're doing your if you think about the sales process and you're introducing your business, and then you move on to the needs assessment. When you're in the needs assessment, we talk about and we train how to deflect potential objections that regularly come up. So one of the key things that I tell all my clients to do is to write down the top 10 objections that you receive for your business. Okay. Brilliant. Right. So the top 10 objections. And then once you've actually written down those objections, what I tell them to do then is to write a story around those objections.
Brilliant.
So for example, let's just say it's about price. Okay. And they say, that's too much money. Think about a situation where previously, you've had somebody that said that, and then they've purchased whatever it is that you are.
Testimonial.
Right. So you're thinking about an authentic and a real situation. So, in my situation, for example, some people say, oh, God, that's really expensive. And then you would go into your story. So you talk about, how one of your previous clients, thought the same. And then after taking the plunge and just trying it out for a space of a couple of months, they saw the benefits instantly. And they said that they just wish they'd made that decision earlier. If you do a story around each one of your objections, the main ones tend to be, price and time. that they're, you know, price and time are the two main ones.
Yeah.
But if you write down 10 and then think about a story where you've had that situation and write that down, and what'll happen is that you'll automatically have the confidence. It's like an immediate boost. Okay, it's an immediate boost in confidence because you have taken the time to prepare yourself. Because one of the key skills in sales, preparation. Okay, so having the ability to be ready, because that's what makes us confident. Okay, so what I want my students to do is to be ready, not with a formal script where they sound robotic, but with an introduction that is their style, their flow, and something that they truly believe in, because ultimately sales is about being authentic and real. Okay, and it is an art form. Sales is an art form, and to become a great salesperson, you need to have great you need to be great at building authentic relationships with people. So when you're building objection handling, you really need to be thinking about, okay, well, I've got this objection around sales, and I've had this customer that, you know, thought it wasn't really, you know, thought it was too expensive, but then they took the plunge, and now this is what they're saying about what we're doing. Yeah. You know, if it's a time objection, you know, that they said that they wish they'd done it earlier. And I think stories sell. And I think that's something really to bear in mind, that every story that you create around your objections will not only lift your confidence, keep you prepared, but also enable you to sell something that's really authentic and real, because it's the truth. It's the truth about a situation that really uplifts your product or service.
I love that. That's an amazing strategy. Oh my God, just that strategy alone, if people do that, right? So ladies and gents, write down the top 10 objections that you may come up with in your business and find a story around it. That's just priceless. That's amazing, Toni. And think what if people are working with you, the things that you can take them through. And I always got told actually that if it's a real objection, ignore it. If it was an objection, ignore it first. And then if it comes up again, it's because it is a real objection, because quite often people just throw in an objection just to try and throw you, you know, and if the same objection comes up twice, is obviously then overcome it. So I always say welcome objections, and always think in your mind, you know, because a lot of people have this fear of objections, that they just haven't given you enough. You haven't given them enough information to make them want to buy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got that information. You've done your prep work. Oh my God, you're not going to worry about objections because you've got them all there.
Exactly. Preparation is the key, Tracy. It genuinely is the key.
Yeah. You know, and
so excited when you know, my clients, and they show me the level of work that they've put into developing a sales script. You know, I'm working with a furniture company at the moment, and you know, I get really excited when I read the level of detail that they put into these objection handling. You know, how they look at it. But then also, once they've actually written down those objections, the answers to those objections, it just flows naturally when they're having the conversation with somebody, because they've taken the time to write it down, and it just uplifts them. And I think that's the thing. For me, it's all about the preparation. And if you are prepared when you go in, you know, you won't fail. You know, you're going to do a fantastic job. You know, and the other thing I think people forget is that 98% of people will not buy from you on the first contact. And I think a lot of people kick themselves and make them and feel bad because they didn't get the sale on the first call. But 98% of people will not get the sale on the first call. So if you always have that in the back of your mind as well, that, you know, statistically,
it's 7 times, isn't it? It's about 7 times, I think.
90, yeah. So when I did the Grant Cardone training, you know, I was really shocked when he delivered that piece, that 98% of you know, of people will not buy on the first contact, and it's between 5 and 12 contacts is the sweet spot.
Yeah, I know. Sweet spot. Fabulous, isn't it?
You know, and I think people really kick themselves, and they beat themselves up over the fact that, oh, I didn't get the sale.
Oh, what? Go and do it again, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the follow-up. And that's what people forget. You know, if I've got it on my wall here, success is in the follow-up. You know, it's so important, you know. So, you know, please remember that, guys. You know, don't beat yourself up if you don't get it on the first go, because 98% of people will not buy on the first contact.
Yeah, so you've just got to change your mindset, haven't you? And don't, as you say, don't beat yourself up about it, you know, and that's what you have to do. And I think, you know, also the other thing as well is when you know the transformation that you can give to people when they buy from you, this is what the salespeople have to get in their head, is the transformation of what it can do for people in their business, the problem that it will solve. Yeah. That is what people are buying. This is problem solving. And if you
problem solving, and
their turnover and profits by 54+%, absolute no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer.
I just love what I do. I love working with people. It's just so exciting. You know, there's so many different types of companies that I work with. It's not just, you know, the banks. It goes down, as I say, to furniture companies, accountants, training providers. You know, there's a lot of support out there, you know, available from the sales circle. And, you know, if you're interested in learning more, then feel free to give me a call anytime.
Oh, fantastic. So how can people reach out to you, Toni? It's been amazing having you on today. I've loved our conversation. So how can they reach out to you?
Right. So you can visit me at www.thesalescircle.co.uk. So that's one way. I also have a community, a Facebook community, which I absolutely love my community. And you can visit that just by putting in the Sales Circle. It's a private group where I provide hints and tips on how to have success in sales. So feel free to join us there.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Toni. Love spending time with you. I always love your energy, your passion, your enthusiasm, but more importantly, your skill and the craft of knowing the art of sales. You really are one incredible lady. So thank you so much for joining me on the Introbiz Global Summit. Ladies and gents, if you want to increase your profits, you want to get more sales, get more money that you can go out and spend and enjoy yourselves, business owners, get in contact with Toni Clarkstone from the Sales Circle. Love having you on, Toni. Speak to you soon.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.